Yeah, this is the two dictionary method. All right. So there's a class of students which has given set properties of ID, name, gender, and location. So you're creating a list of students out here. With the student class object, you are defining the IDs, names, gender, and location of those students. And then from here, you're using that two dictionary method. We're converting the collection of information into a form of dictionary, and that will fetch only the required information. So this is the data source two dictionary, where I've used lambda operations or lambda expressions where I get the ID and the name. Okay, and then use the for each loop to iterate over the key value pair. So the key is we're getting the key by the key property from stud and value property of stud. You can see the ID and the name will come as a key value pair out here. Run this key value pair, you can see. One is Vinay and then you can see Vinay, Vaishali, and this Montu, Akshay, Arpita, whatever it is. So that means you can actually converting the properties to a key value pair in dictionary by the two dictionary method. All right. Okay. Let's go to elements operator.
Element. So how many different types of operators have we done so far? I know we did partition stuff, sorting stuff. We did the aggregate stuff. I just kind of want to remember everything because we're going kind of quickly.
So elements operator is there, and then we have the conversion operators,
Yeah.
and then we have the partition operators, and the sorting operators, and then the aggregate functions.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
What we can do is we can do up to elements operator today, and then we can continue tomorrow again.
Okay.
That will give you time to look at it also, but this is where we'll finish. It has quite a few, so we'll finish it out here, and then rest of this stuff we have other operators. If you look at here, we have the grouping operators, that is group by, and then we have the join operators. We have inner joint, left outer joint, cross joint.
Nice.
These are all from SQL.
Yeah.
And then group joins, and then we have set operators out here, like your union, intersect, distinct, except, that we have in SQL also. And that is there, and then followed by your, then we have the equality operators, concat operators, and then for general operations.
Okay.
Then we have link to objects and link to ADO.NET and link to XML, all those things.
Okay.
Okay, let's look at element operators. So in LINQ, element operators would be used to return first and last element of the list or single element from a collection or a specified element based on the index value from the collection. So I can get the first and last element of the list or the single element from the collection or a specified element based on the index number. And we understand it, index number starts with 0.
Yeah.
So this will give you the first or default will be um, last will be the last element, last or default will be 0 always. Okay, element at index number. Want to get the element at a particular index number. Element at a particular index number or default will be 0. Single element, single or default, and default empty. So it's straightforward. So by using these element operators, we can get list collection of items at a specific position. And this is the table for it. First means it returns the first element in sequence or from the collection based on the condition. First or default means it's same as the first, but it returns default value in case when no element is found in the collection. Default value will be 0. Last means the last element in the sequence or the last based on certain matching criteria, certain conditions. Element at means it returns an element based on the index number of the element. An index number would always start with 0. Element at or default, that means based on index number or default will be 0 if the element is not found out. It is the same as element at, but it returns the default value in case if no element is present in the specified index of the collection. Single means returns a single specific element from the collection. Single or default, it means same as single, but returns the default value in case if the element is not found in the collection. Default empty, it returns the default value in case if the list or collection contains empty or null values. So the first element, this method or operator is used to return the first element in the sequence of items in the list or collection, or the first element in the sequence of items in the list based on specified condition. In case if no element is present in the list based on the specified condition, then LINQ first method will throw an error. Okay, so it's going to throw error if no element is present in the specified on the list based on a specified condition. Syntax is pretty easy. It shows you dot first method. Okay, to get the first element from the list. So we're getting the first element of the object list collection using the list first methods. We'll see this. So it's an integer array, you can see. And first method is used to return the first element from the array object list. We're trying to get the first element from the collection object by using the LINQ first operator in the method syntax. This is the method syntax. Object list dot first. And this is going to return the first element. That should be 1. Okay, so let's differentiate the result. So let's look at something before the start. Right now. First element is 1, you can see that. And we can use the first method with query syntax also. So same integer array, we are using the query syntax out here. Dot first. From L in the object list, select L. The value of L will be the first element. Will be kept in this result 1, and you print out with the placeholder. Print out the result 1. Element in the list is 1. This is your query syntax. Okay, I hope this is clear.
Yeah.
First or default. So in LINQ's first default operator, this is used to return first element from the list. First or default operator is same as LINQ's first operator, and the only difference is in case if the list returns no elements, then the first or default operator method will return default value. So this is the default syntax, and this syntax we are trying to get the first element or default element from the object list collection by using the LINQ's first or default operator. This is also straightforward. You can see. Start a project. All right. Now you can see this is an integer array which has items. This is an empty integer array. Okay. And now I'm using on this source, I'm using the first.default, which will give you the one. Okay, now if you look at, I'm using first.default on this second integer array which has no elements. So this will return 0. So this right line method is going to return 1. This is going to return 0.
To avoid errors, I assume.
Beg your pardon?
Like that use that function to avoid errors, I would assume.
Yeah. So you can see default value is 0 because the integer array doesn't have any elements. This gets you the first item from the integer array. If I make this 10, that will fetch you 10. And there the default value is 0. And then you can also use the query syntax out here. Let's say we put 100. This is going to return 100. So this has the 100 as the first item. And this is going to return 0 because this doesn't have any items. So this is going to print out the first item is 100, 0, then default item is 0. You can see this 100 and 0. Next is your last method. The last method is going to give you the last item from the list or collection. This will throw an exception in case if the list or collection returns no elements. Okay. Syntactical behavior is use the last method, and this syntax we are trying to fetch the last item or element from the object list source using the links last method. Again, it is very straightforward. So again, array of integers, sorry. And we are going to apply the last method to fetch the last item from the list and store the result in a variable of type integer. List object is the source dot last. Last item is, let's say I make it 50. So fetch me the result value will be 50. And that is what will print out here. And then you can use the query syntax also. That is what is shown out here. In the query syntax, you have the same integer array. You apply query syntax like this. From L in the list object, select L, where L value is last, and that is fetched and put to the variable result1, print out that. So last item, let's make this 500. Let's run this. So we'll see with the query syntax as well as the method syntax, 50 and 500. And like this, we have also the last or default. It's like your first or default only. Last item, or if the element is not present, default will be 0. That is what will show you.
How could there not be a last element in a list?
If you do not have any elements,
Right, okay.
then you will not have the last element.
Obviously.
Yeah. So this is a list integer array, and you have 5 items in the list, and there's no item. So if we initiate the process of getting the last of the default value from here, okay, and you print out this, I'm gonna print out here only, and here you're trying to get the last item from this array which does not have any elements. This is going to fetch you. This is where I've used the Where's that last or default? This is going to fetch you 0. And then you can use the query syntax also to get this name results. The query syntax would be same. Um, from L in the list object 1, select L. The value of L will be the last or default value that's kept in the result 1, and then you can print it out. And this doesn't have any items, you can see. So this is going to basically have problem because last or default value will be 0. And that's what it is going to be printed out. Run this. You can see. I hope you've understood, Paul.
Yeah, those make sense.
Okay,
Yeah.
element add. So I'm going to get the element at a particular index number. So in links element at operator, we get the elements from a list or collection based on the specified index. Generally in the list, the index will start from 0. So if you want to get the first element, then there's a need to send 0 as an index position. And we can use the syntax like this. So this syntax will return an element at index number 1 if I put 1 here. Okay, and that's also very straightforward, so pretty easy to understand. Okay, so which element I want to get? Element at index number 1 means 2. It's going to fetch you 2. Index number 3 means 0, 1, 2, 3. This is going to fetch you 4.
If you put an index that's out of bounds, I'm assuming it's going to throw an error.
Outsider?
So like if you pick an index that's out of bounds of the array,
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's just going to throw an error.
So that's going to basically index out of boundary, something of that sort.
Yeah, something like that.
It's index number 10. And I do index number 10. Run this. You see it says throw argument out of range exception.
Okay.
Out of range exception, and actually it's a range out of range. The index number is out of range. So
Right.
argument out of range exception. So I'm going to basically comment this. Element at or default method used to get an element at a specified index position in the list or collection, and it is same as links element at method. Only difference between both element at or default and element at is that it will return default values only. On the other hand, if the specified index position of the element does not exist in the list, then in that case, it also will return a default value. So this is the operator element at or default. We're getting the elements as a specified index number at index number 1. Or default means it is the OR logic used, nothing else, or default. If the element is not present at the particular index, it will basically return 0. So let's see an example of this. Where did it go? There's an array element at a method will return values of the specified index. This will return 2. This is 0, 1, 2, 3. This will return 4. At index number 10. So what is this going to be thrown out? See this. Nothing. It is not throwing you index out of range.
Huh.
That is what or default. That's what it will do. Element at or default. I'm basically printing out this out here. You can see at index number 10. There's no 10 index number. This is what you will get. No exception like you got it the last time. Single method. The single method is used to return single element from the collection. Single element which satisfy the condition. In case if the single method found more than one element in the collection or no element in the collection, it will throw invalid operation. So that means it is going to return only a single element. It finds more than one element based on the condition, it will throw an exception. Or it does not find any element, it will throw out exception. It is supposed to only returns one element, not more than one.
Okay.
If it finds out more than one element, it will throw an exception. It doesn't find an element, still an exception.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll see this. Did you open that? Well, let me close. A lot of things are open. All right. We have a class student which has three properties of get set method: name, gender, location. We have created a list of students and we have initialized the objects giving their name, gender, and location. And initialize an array object list with one value. Okay. Now use a single method, and the single method can pass on condition where s is equal to name, which is equal to this guy. So this is going to return. So this will return names. All these names will return, and the name should be matching with this, equal to this. That means I'm returning a single element. All right.
Yep.
And then I'll get the name from the user variable. The name property. So I'm getting the name. Here I'm setting the name. Here I'm getting the name and putting it to a result. And then print out the result. I can print out the result out here instead of printing there. Oh, sorry. I'm going to comment this right now. Hold on for a sec. Let's see this. This will single element method is going to return a single element, and that's the condition. The condition returns a single element because it says the name should be equal to this. So run this. Name is this guy, Shubham Rastogi or something. And I'm having another, you can see this. Let me initialize it out here. That should be together. And then let me from this object list get this single method. The single method can pass an argument which can be a, you can see this is basically nothing but a lambda expression. I have not passed out here because there's only one element. So this will also return one. And if it doesn't have any element, we can see this thing got invalid operation exception. Doesn't have any element or finds more than one element, exception will thrown out. Why did this close? That single method, and then we have the single or default. Is used to return a single element in case there are no elements present.
Okay.
In the list, then they will return, then this will return more than one element, will throw an exception. If there are no elements or returns more than one element, it will return an exception. We will return a single element from the collection, and if the collection does not contain an element, then it will return default value. So this is something like that. Will return the default value. And mistake out. So single or default method is used to return a single element. In case if there are no elements present in the list or collection, then this will return a default value. Default value will be 0. So in the above syntax, we will return a single element from the collection object list. And if the collection does not contain an element, it will return a default value. So let's see this. So same thing, student with properties name, gender, location, list of students gets created, and the setting is done for name, gender, and location out here. And I'm going to use on this. Let me get it down. Let me put it properly. This will return a single value. So it's basically I is equal to name and name is equal to this guy. The single value return. It will return the name. And you can print out result. Once. Okay, let me use some differentiator, differentiate the answers. And there also an object list of array type, single or default method is used. Let's run this. You can see here I'm getting Akshay Tyagi, here I'm getting invalid operations section for this. Because you have to pass on either there should be a single value, print out the value. Print out the value 1. Okay, then this will not take an argument which will be a condition like this. Or if it has more than one, for example, and you run this will basically return invalid operation exception. You have to pass some, you got to pass some condition out here. The condition can be something like this, that this is where the condition can be set. You can say the j is greater than 5. So here again, you can see that putting CW. And this is a very kind of absurd kind of a condition. Look at this. Greater than 5.
So is the I'm assuming the single stuff is like finding by ID and stuff like that. Because it has to be unique.
It should be a single element, or like this. Like this should be a single element. Remove this single element. This will basically print out what? 1. And this. You can see this 1. If it is more than one element, say 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're using no conditions out here, this is going to give an exception. You can see this. Invalid operation exception. Okay. So I'm commenting it. So the exception is coming. Or let's say you have something like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm giving a condition which is an upset condition. There's nothing which is greater than 5. And if I run this, for example, this is going to give me default value 0. So this is going to give you a default value. As 0. Why? Because giving a condition which is not there out here. So no element. So no element means default value 0. Here it is, you can see out here. This does not have any condition, no condition.
Right.
No condition. So exception. As there are more than one element, one item in the array. And I remove it. Let's say I make it as one item. If I make it as one item, then no problem. This will fetch out 1. Will print out 1. See this. See that 1 here. Before this default value as 0. You can see 1 is printed out. With only one item, so this single will print out item number 1. Because if I have more than one item out here, so let me copy this to make one more. So you can see it. You have more than one object list 1. This will print 1. This will print exception. So more than one item. All right. And I'm saying, get me a single default. This will not give you single, more than one item. So this is going to give you invalid operation.
Right. That makes sense.
And if you give a condition which says there's no element which satisfies this condition, this will give you default value as 0.
Right.
This is going to be exception. Running this. I'm going to comment this. I hope it is understandable.
Yeah, it makes
Now
sense.
default empty. So default empty method is used to return default value in that case if the list collection contains null or empty values. Otherwise, it will return element from the sequence in the collection. So if there's a null or empty value in the collection, it will return the default value. In that case, if the collection contains null or empty, default value will be 0 if it is null or empty present to the item. Otherwise, it will return element in the sequence of the collection. So from the above syntax, we are getting the list of items in the LINQ default empty method. So we'll see that. Empty array, 5-item array, default or empty use in result. A and B has default or empty. So it has, it's going to give you a default value in the result. This is going to give you a default value. This is going to give you a list of items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this should throw out something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This has no values, null values. So this should throw out 0. Because B is empty. This should throw out 0. And this should throw out the items in the list, in the array, sorry. And this. So if you're throwing out 0, you can see this is just throwing out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what I've written out here. So that's your default empty list. This is where I stopped today. I don't want to basically have too much taxing on you.
Okay. Okay.